What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Attack on Cowboys. And OTAs are finally over, y'all. And let's get right into it as we discuss everything we learned from the Dallas Cowboys voluntary OTA periods, including some shocking names that actually made quite a bit of noise, some injury trends that we need to keep an eye on because it could end up forcing the Cowboys for changes they themselves didn't even see coming. And Stephen Jones finally addresses some of the trade rumors. Let's get right into it and be sure to subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content as we head into the mandatory OTA period. Man, shut your up. All right. We're going to start with the most polarizing piece of news, and that's going to be news concerning a Jalen Ramsey trade to the Dallas Cowboys. I know a lot of you guys probably already seen this a couple days ago when it initially dropped, but I'm just adding it into this piece because I haven't discussed it on this channel yet, and we have kind of been chronicling the Jalen Ramsey situation. All right, but real quick, it ain't happening. All right, it ain't happening. That's not something that they're looking to do right now. And Stephen Jones came out and said, nah, he plays for the Dolphins. I'm not commenting on dude, which is very smart because they can be fined for tampering, commenting on a player under contract from another team as it pertains to wanting him to come to the Cowboys, right? So I don't think you can do that. So Stephen was very, very smart in doing so. So is that the true answer? We really don't know 100%, but I'm willing to bet the Cowboys aren't going to go there. However, I do have a video releasing maybe later on today, which we're going to discuss the fact they're making some cap space, and they may not be planning to do anything right now, but I'll tell you exactly when they'll probably plan to do something, right? And I've been pretty spot on with some of my predictions this season, so y'all better stay locked in. All right, but let's go ahead and move on because there's much to do about nothing right there, all right? Next, I want to get into some week 3 observations from the OTAs, and then we're just going to talk about the OTA period in general and kind of what we learned and what we need to keep an eye on, what we should be excited about, what we should be like, interesting about, right? Nick Harris of Fort Worth Star-Telegram, he has tweeted his observations from the Cowboys week 3 of OTAs, and some of the things that he wrote were consistent with pretty much all the observations you would see. If you go around and you tally up what everybody's seeing and everybody's talking about, then you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on out there, even if you are not exactly present. But Nick said, with wide receiver CeeDee Lamb off to the side today, we saw the most out of George Pickens since his arrival. Dak Prescott targeted him on a sideline end zone throw in the red zone that Pickens fully extended for and caught. Now, this is something that we should get used to, bro. George Pickens was a highlight reel over in Pittsburgh. Anytime the word practice was uttered, you already knew you was getting a good clip from George Pickens. All right, I'm sure the beat reporters love George just for that reason, if not the sound bites as well. But we should expect a lot of this, and I think that Dak is going to see just the catch radius of a George Pickens and how he's able to exhibit that body control and get those tippy toes in and make those fully extended catches, and Dak can throw it to places where he knows only George can get it to. I think that's what this period is about right now. It's kind of just figuring out, hey, what's the extent of how I can use this guy? And Dak and George getting reps together and getting comfortable quarterback to receiver, right? And Dak kind of understanding what his strengths are and how he can kind of utilize George Pickens' superpower. So we're going to see a lot of that. I am not at all surprised by George Pickens being a highlight of week 3, right? Jalen Tolbert also had an impressive touchdown grab in the red zone work. Prescott fired one to the back of the end zone that Tolbert went over the top of a defender to haul in. I hope Tolbert takes all the crap we've been talking about him. I hope he takes it and mushes it all in our faces. I really do. Anytime I say anything negative about any of our players, I hope that they come back and make me look like the most ignorant person with a platform, because that means positive things for the Cowboys. So Jalen Tolbert, please continue to show up. I really want to see when they actually get into some contact drills. That's what I really want to see, because Brian Schottenheimer even said it himself. Right now, in this period, corners and the DBs and stuff, they don't have equal right to the ball. So it's very important we include those kind of details when we're talking about what's happening, so we're not getting ahead of ourselves and thinking that the guys are just balling out like gangbusters. No. Y'all got to remember, this is a very, very watered down version of football being practiced right now, mainly being walked through, to be honest, man. They're just inputting stuff and doing some installs and stuff like that. Do not get involved with trying to project how good a player is going to be in the season based off of what's going on in OTAs. That is a mistake because they are not playing actual football under actual football rules. And Jalen Tolbert being able to do this, cool, fine and dandy. I love it. I hope he's able to continue doing that when the pads come on, when guys are able to get physical with him. And that, to me, is the biggest issue. I actually think that Jalen Tolbert has a lot of potential as a receiver in the NFL. My issues with him is more so about the football player aspect of, can you be physical enough for the league? Can you be physical enough to not be a liability when you have to block? Can you be physical enough to dominate your own space, to command your own space when you're running your route, so that way guys aren't knocking you off the correct path and messing up maybe the depth of the route, or maybe the area of where your route's supposed to. It's stuff like that. It's the physical aspect. I want to see Jalen Tolbert just play with more strength. I want to see his play strength improve, and I think that we'll see a lot more from Jalen Tolbert. And play strength affects your ability to block and all that stuff. So that's what I want to see out of Jalen Tolbert, and I think we'll see a lot of that when the pads come on and these dudes are able to put hands on these receivers and really battle them for some of these balls. That's when we'll be able to see if Jalen Tolbert is taking the steps where we need him to take steps, y'all. So very, very interesting thing right there. Don't pay too much attention to the quarterbacks, backup or starting quarterback, as it pertains to their stats. And he went 8 for 14 and had his best efficiency in red zone work, which is honestly, that's a good sign, because remember, the red zone was one of our weak points as a team the past couple seasons. Really, the red zone was a struggle at various points in the seasons. So if they're kind of cleaning that up and we're doing better in the red area, that to me is a positive sign. But again, not playing real football yet, not playing physical football, and really won't be playing real football till around preseason time, or we get to those joint practices and you're really able to see guys that are competing from a different organization trying not to lose their jobs, right? So that's when we'll really start to see, is this stuff working? Is the shoddy scheme actually working, and to what degree, right? Then we get to the Joe Milton experience. Was once again on full display. A 44-yard bomb to Jalen Brooks down the right sideline on a free play was beautifully placed. He also did throw a pick six to linebacker Damone Clark. He went 7 for 9. Will Grier went 2 for 2. Joe Milton is going to be an experiment. I think he has way, way higher of a ceiling than a Trey Lance, though. I think he actually has the capability of being a starting level NFL quarterback. How good of a starting level NFL quarterback, I don't know. But I do think that Joe Milton has the traits, and as long as he's able to absorb all of this great information that's going to be floating around him with Brian Schottenheimer and Dak Prescott, some of the other people that he's going to be around while he's in Dallas, I think that he really does have a real shot at being a starting quarterback at some point. And God forbid, knock on wood, if anything were to happen to Dak, it would at least be fun to watch what Joe Milton could do. I think that's the thing that it kind of, that move to me, and what he's showing so far in training camp, which is really a lot of the freak athletic traits, the big arm, and some of the inaccuracy, right, and some of the decision-making issues. The stuff that he's showing in practice will make for at least exciting TV. Will it be exciting enough to make real conversations be had about QB1? Nah, I don't think so, because I think that as long as Dak stays healthy, then he's probably going to play here longer than people think he's going to play here, especially if they have a measure of success in the playoffs at some point over the next year or two. Then we get rookie running back Jaden Blue got a good amount of burn with the second team. Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams still taking a lot of those first team snaps. Jaden Blue is, however, he's getting some positive words, but I think that Jaden Blue, he's in more of a developmental phase than what many of us maybe want to admit. I don't think that he's going to be day one ready to unseat guys like Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. I do think it's going to be one of those situations where if we see Jaden Blue be starting for the Cowboys, just based off of just how things have gone so far, the trends that we're paying attention to, if we were to see Jaden Blue starting for the Cowboys at some point, it would come in a situation where it happened over the course of a season, right? A guy started to get into a rhythm. He started to be the more productive of the backs, and he started progressively getting more and more of the carries. That's the type of situation it would happen in. I don't see him beating out both Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders for primary carry. Right? I just don't see that. But good things being heard about most of the running backs for the training camp period. Again, not a lot of Deuce, not a whole lot of Deuce Vaughn stuff. Hunter Lepke's name's been getting called. Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams. Miles Sanders seems like he's been the one that's probably had the best OTA period. And that's something that I kind of expect. I don't know what y'all expected, but when we signed Miles, I told y'all I really like this signing because the dude still has some wheels on him, and he's a good running back. He's a good running back. He has breakaway speed, and he has the capability of creating explosive plays. And to me, that's what the Cowboys need more than anything is explosive plays. So I like the fact that Miles Sanders is the one that's kind of showing that he has juice early on in the offseason period. Now, something that is very, very interesting. Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker have both been in and out rehab groups. They've been in and out of practice. Malik Hooker just exited practice with an injury. So very interesting development that the safety room, the room in which a lot of people probably feel like we have the depth there to challenge the starters at that position. The safety room, they're nicked up, they're banged up, and I'm gonna say this, man, they do not in the era where Brian Schottenheimer is encouraging competition amongst position groups. He's encouraging competition. He's encouraging guys to try to take roster spots, right? Try to climb that depth chart. You do not want to be missing time like this. I don't think that this is going to just be a given. You're given this type of situation. And if Donovan Wilson and Malik Hooker cannot consistently stay out on that practice field, this is something to keep an eye on because I've noticed that these safeties, man, they're the main ones that's been in and out of practice. Donovan Wilson's been with the rehab group because I think he had surgery on a knee or something like that. Malik Hooker just exited practice recently, and I don't think these guys have the real estate available to miss time. Not what this team is trying to do, not how this team is building itself from the ground up, essentially, and not if the guys behind them, Awanye Thomas, Israel McQuambu, some of these guys are able to come in and be good and look good in what the coaches are asking them to do. I really think that this is a regime that's going to put guys on the field that have earned the playing time. I don't think people are going to be on the field based off of you being favorites because this is a 97% new coaching staff, essentially. You take out Brian Schottenheimer, the only holdover is Linda Wells. Everyone else is brand new. So there are no favors. There are no predisposed relationships you can pull back on and be like, hey, I'm going to start based off of me knowing that I'm in with this guy. No. These coaches are going to be looking to put the best guy on the field that can do exactly what they need them to do. And if Wanye and them are going out there and these guys are missing practice time, and this continues through mandatory OTAs and it continues through training camp, and these guys are missing time, that's something to keep an eye on, y'all. I'm telling y'all, we could end up seeing some different starters in certain positions just based off of availability, because availability is your best ability, and I don't think anything is going to be given on this iteration of the Cowboys. So that was very, very interesting to me that I continue to see the safeties not being able to take full reps. They're not able to take their actual reps at their actual positions, and Brian Schottenheimer's been rotating ones all OTAs. He's been rotating the ones, so don't get caught up in who's starting and who's not either right now, because he already clarified he's rotating the ones, so he's creating that competition, right? He's giving guys opportunity to show that they can be better in a spot. So that's what he's doing, and man, this is something that's definitely a developing story I would keep an eye on, right? Something else that's kind of emerged during this OTA period is the linebacker group. The linebacker group apparently looks really good. Kenneth Murray Jr., Jack Sanborn, Damone Clark has been having his name called out, and Shamar James, the rookie out of Florida. It sounds like the linebacker crew is going to be one of the stronger position groups on the field this upcoming season by all accounts. And it sounds like Matt Eberflus is putting the exact influence that we expected him to. He's a linebacker guru. We expected him to come here and make our linebacker room better. So that is a positive sign that we're seeing that happen. Love to hear it. Beyond that, we heard a lot about Solomon Thomas and just kind of the impact that he's been able to have on the team and on the organization, and kind of the positive impact that he's added to this group. But yeah, this OTA period was more about just acknowledging trends, being able to recognize trends, and just noticing things. It's more about noticing things, seeing what the tone, the temperature, the vibe, the energy is like, seeing which guys are practicing well, seeing which guys are getting a lot of attention, seeing which guys are getting a lot of run, seeing which guys are staying injured, seeing which guys are in the rehab group, seeing which guys are progressing from the rehab group, which Sam Williams apparently progressed from rehab group to individual drills this week as well. So we saw some progression with Sam Williams in his recovery timetable with the Dallas Cowboys. And that's just something very, very interesting that I noticed. And again, Trevon Diggs not there. Trevon Diggs not really prominently featured in their promo video either for their media day. If you go and look at the promo video on the DallasCowboys.com, he's not really prominently featured there either. And I don't even know if he was shown at all. I don't even know if he was there. So that's something else to keep an eye on as well. But those were the observations and pretty much everything that we learned from OTAs. Just overall, the linebackers look really good. George Pickens is George Pickening. They're not really doing full contact, which is why you're not really hearing a whole lot about the D linemen and the offensive linemen and stuff like that right now, is because guys can't get seriously physical yet. So we're not going to hear anything about the trenches. And if you're hearing too much about the trenches, then it's more about the mentality of guys where it's cap. Kyer Elam, the defensive backs. Kyer Elam seems to be a guy that's turning some heads and getting some attention at OTAs right now. His name has been probably the one called the most out of the defensive backs this offseason period so far. And the health of the safeties. The health of the safeties is definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on, along with that running back room and who's going to take that running back one position. That's a major question that we still have left to answer for the Dallas Cowboys. But beyond that, man, OTAs are officially over. On to mandatory OTAs. And then we get into some juicy storylines, because we get to see guys like Diggs back in the build and everything like that. Or maybe not. Or maybe not. Who knows? Either way, appreciate you guys tuning in. Bow!
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Oh, shut up, my boy. Hey! I'm still them boys.